Welcome back, everyone, to the Theta video series. Today we're going to be diving into is last first and what that means for the AI space and for all innovators across the globe. Before we dive in, let us thank our Theta stakers as well as our Tfuel stakers over on ThetaCommunications.com. You all make this content possible. All right, let's dive in. Let's head on over to the YouTube here. Let's go over to the All In podcast. I'm not going to play the clip for copyright reasons, of course, but I want you guys to go to the 28-minute mark, pause this video. I'll post the link down below. Watch right here, just this few 2-3 minutes right here from Chamath and him going through the justification of the spend of the hundreds of billions of dollars that has been spent, and that there is still a chapter where these small teams have been waiting in the wind, like Theta, prepping and pre-preparing, and how he's monitoring and watching who's going to come out of the space and be formulating their process in a whole different way other than direct making a LLM. And Theta's done a very good job in encompassing all LLMs within their product and service, as well as not being locked in to certain GPU hardware. The Edge network allows us to do this, right? It allows Theta to scale as a network. No matter what hardware comes out, we can always add and continue things forward. So this really puts things into perspective about the valuations and the money spent. We said this in the previous video. You have all this spend all up front, and now it is kind of being distilled down into who is the actual players in the space, right? We have Meta, who has done some crazy things like poaching people, spending a lot, now doing a hiring freeze after they've spent a ton of money, and giving high bonuses, high as $100 million to employees. That is insane and good for those employees. Great for them. The question is now, will Meta get that money back in returns from these employees for participating? And now the rubber meets the road. So Google, Meta, and Microsoft on average have spent about, let's say, $75 billion each for 2025 on AI spending. So we have to justify all of the spend and the innovation that all of these teams are doing. And I really want to highlight on what the subtext of what Chamath, I think, is trying to say, which is that being first is actually last, where you are going to have competing environments, just like DeepSeek, where you now don't want to be the one spending $100 billion building a product, and then someone in software comes about and says, I can spend $20 billion studying what they did, improving it, and basically piggybacking off of their own innovations. And that's going to be a huge challenge in this chapter going forward, is that if you are first, you could become last, because it's like the autopilot for Tesla. Now, I think Tesla has some built-in, obviously some government-related deals, towns, cities, right, agencies like that kind of act as moats on the business model. But full self-driving, if it is able to be copyable and all that data and all that traction that Tesla has spent tons and tons of money on, a Ford, a GM, if they had their wits about them, which I don't know if they do, could potentially pull a DeepSeek and implement their own while spending a fraction of what Tesla did to be the innovator, right? So, and that's really scary for a lot of innovators and a lot of big businesses, is a lot of people talk about how Apple hasn't invested in AI as much as the competitors, right? But it's actually kind of brilliant, right? The iPhone, they were very late to the phone market, right? The cell phone market. And now they're very late, it appears, to the AI market. And I think that's done very strategically, because why get caught up in all of the AI race and spend a ton of money you don't have to spend? Why not let people battle it out and fight it out and then see what the landscape looks like once that battle has occurred, right? And all the excess and all the all the arrows and everything have been thrown, you'll see what's actually left and who is still standing. So I do applaud Apple for their patience, because there is a sense between, I bet, on the board right now where it's like, hey, we need to move on AI. And then there's the other half that says, hey, we need to take a playbook out of our previous innovations and wait and then make a really great product on top. So I can definitely appreciate that, especially because then they will be more cost efficient in that way, right? If they don't have to spend $100 billion and they only have to spend 20 or 15, that's great for shareholders. That's great for the stock price and just the business in general, in efficiency standpoint. So things like this are really scary. And that's why I really am impressed with Mitch and team for putting together all of these patents, right? Shout out to Joe Stevens for this one. All of the patents here, because patents, and we've talked about IP law in previous, are going to become a huge moat in an AI world, right? Because innovators get punished in this world. So you need either some form of government contract, you need a patent, you need some form of moat to push back on some of these things that are going forward. So Theta's done a really great job of this, and to go along with this, everyone knows where we need to go, and all these businesses do as well. Personal opinion, my take, is that Google, Meta, and Microsoft, and we'll say Apple, are all kind of in this mode of they're going to innovate, and then they're all going to realize, well, why are we innovating? Why don't we just wait for one of our competitors to do something? They're all going to have that same moment. And then we hit the point where they will all have to come to a consortium to survive, right? Because otherwise they're going to be just destroying each other at a rate that's just insane. And for them to survive, they will all have to stick together. And that's where I think these companies start all becoming Theta validators, right? Because now they have a universal, I'll call it like an internet, or with the edge network, the edge network becomes a layer, a utility layer that they all use on an even field, and they all gain benefit by growing that network. So there's no a winner takes all, and there's no losses on the battlefield per se. So, and I think that's what Mitch and team are posturing for, is the fact that with the patents, they have immense strength with that, and it brings about a great valuation proposition for Theta, considering the AI spend, right? Personally, if these major companies have spent $60 to $80 billion just in 1 year, then the valuation and the bandwidth issue on AI right now, and with what Elon has said, with devices becoming edge nodes, is at least a 40 billion market cap proposition, right? So we are very, very early, and I know that everyone's been beaten down so much by the bear market 2-3 years. I just don't think you realize how early you are, and you just need to see that there is a super bright future ahead, and you just have to get through this this harder chapter. And Theta is posturing very well, very, very well for this. So I'm very excited about it. And again, is first last? You have to consider that in a world moving as quickly as it is. So Theta posturing from a stance of not being beholden to one large language model, but being open to them all, as well as being open to all GPUs, right? That's something that's very different than everyone else. Theta is lightweight, Theta is nimble, and there is more value, in my opinion, in the processing of everything than there is in being the innovator. All right, everyone, I hope you have found this video well. Make sure to share it, send it out to everyone, and as always, I will see you on Tfuel Island. Take care. Bye-bye.